So thank you very much for having me on this seminar. My name is Viera Hincova. I am living in Slovakia currently. And as for psychologist, from my professional point of view, there are some issues interested in our country concerning of course, the approach to people on the spectrum, and both my daughter and me are on the spectrum, so I faced plenty of issues during her school time and also later, and I started to work in this field later. So it's now for 8 years I'm active in Slovakia in the field of autism. So the very special situation in Slovakia is that or from my point of view, is that even in 2021, the ABA is presented in Slovakia as the only evidence-based approach to autism. I participated at one academic conference where this information was provided to many professionals. And as I know, it is not true. And I'm really sorry that a very good academic person doesn't have enough experience or enough knowledge to learn that there are many other evidence-based approaches. I will start with this point of view because it is very important, or it is considered to be very important, that the approach is on the academic level and medical level evidence-based. I had the opportunity to find out about the big survey which was done by the National Clearinghouse of Autism Evidence and Practice review team of the University of North Carolina, which says that there are 28 evidence-based practices in approach to autism. This is a big review study.
Viera, are you advancing your slides? It's because we're still on the first one here.
Is it still? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we can see the whole screen. You might find that Control F5 is a useful thing to show it in sort of presentation mode.
Okay. Is it now better? Okay.
It is better. Yes.
Okay.
And we're not, I think, on the first slides anymore.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
No, thank you for letting me know. Of course. So we had a conference last year in October, focusing on challenges and possibilities in approach to people with on the spectrum or on Asperger's syndrome. We still use this name in our country because it is quite commonly known, and it is very difficult to discuss with people in schools or in practice without using this label. So on this conference, we presented these evidence-based practices with the focus on early childhood intervention. We had a professional from the United States who is as well member of European network of early intervention. And it was she who brought also this focus on the new review, the new survey. And the evidence-based practices in approach to autism are currently much more focusing on interests of children, on their strengths, and on responsive parenting practices. It was Mrs. Espe Sherwin who was present on this conference, and this is what I wanted to share also during this possibility, or during this seminar. Here you can find some comparison of three different evidence-based practices. On the left side, there is developmental relationship-based interventions and naturalistic developmental behavioral interventions approach. And on the right side, there is a comparison to ABA, to applied behavioral analysis. And the main differences are that most of these current approaches are provided in natural context, that focus is put on the caregiver and child relationship, and they are not separating children from family routines. On the other hand, in ABA, basically the very specific and discrete skills are taught in a structured and prescribed order. And in this approach, the adults are those who select the materials and tasks. So in this comparison, we can see that the shift in the interventions is quite big. Some examples of these approaches focusing on social communication skills instead of discrete non-functional skills are, for example, early start and model, play project, responsive teaching, or floor time, or pivotal response treatment. So and this picture shows how the study compares various approaches. I was not like selecting it with the names of these approaches, just to show that they are interested in what skills the approach is able to develop or to support. And one of the results was that ABA is has very low efficiency in this comparison, comparing to other interventions. So it is very important as a result of this study to follow the child's intention, child's interests and ideas to help them to develop their skills. And parents and caregivers both are focusing on interactions with their child through play and naturally occurring routines throughout the day. Even focusing, if we focus on the difficulties which brings ABA, as we know it, as it is set in many practices, it is very important to consider, this is one of the conclusions as well, that heavily structured and high-intensity interventions may not be developmentally appropriate for very young children and may contribute to family stress, which could negatively affect children's development, as well as highly interventions that separate children from their siblings, peers, and family members for extended periods may have unintended adverse developmental and social consequences. So service professionals should help families to consider these issues while selecting early interventions of appropriate intensity and stay abreast of research that systematically explores the outcomes of this intensity of the interventions. From my point of view, the abusive elements of ABA are ignoring the needs of the person, ignoring communication signals. There are also experiences and made that the child is signaling his uncomfortable feelings, but it is ignored. We are validating selective behavior and communication signals from the person and from the child, and is very exhaustive and demanding from the very early age. In Slovakia, when I use words of Mrs. Ivana Trelova, who is also one of the 3 fully trained people in Slovakia, this fully trained person can supervise 15 or 20 clients. So there is a capacity in Slovakia for 60 clients in the same moment. And you can see also the calculation, if the price for 1 hour is 40, 50 euro, how much it should cost per week and how much is the average income in Slovakia or the minimum wage or the care benefits for people. So it is not, of course, affordable. My intention was also to speak a bit about the cultural context of using ABA, because culture is not only what we perform in terms of art or terms of performances, but in culture there are underlying elements like eye contact. It is different in different cultures. Also the body language or the proximity, but also the level in which we expressing emotions or following our interests and our needs is a cultural issue, and we can say even that every individual and every family has certain culture. The applied behavioral analysis was developed in the USA, and the goal was efficiency, adaptation to requests from the social environment. Even, which is rarely known, IQ tests were developed at the end of 19th century to distinguish people who will succeed in army. So not in regular life, but who will be successful in army career. And in this culture, the validity of the persons, of course, it is not only the culture of the United States. The validity of the persons depends on their contribution to society and production. And individual needs are sacrificed to common good. And it creates the normativity and, of course, internalized oppression. We know that the cultural change is coming with the neurodiversity movement, where the validity is given to diversity in needs, diversity in communication styles, and also diversity in productivity. For example, STEAMing sensory needs are welcomed to increase the well-being of the person as a way to higher efficiency. Developmental needs are considered from the internal perspective of the person, on their interests, or as a need for self-regulation. Currently, there is a big movement also, like in more awareness and possibilities to create the neurodiversity friendly workplaces and to hire people on the spectrum in many companies, but still also in this there is a risk of exploiting the person if there is no cultural change and understanding in this approach of efficiency and normativity. On the other hand, also humanistic approaches in psychology are more focusing on the individual needs. So also for me as a professional, the main point of view is acceptance, sensory accommodations, and respectful communications of the person, following even nonverbal signals. I was working for 20 years with process-oriented psychology with nonverbal signals and so-called blind access. It says that every signal in movement or sound or in any expression of the person is potentially meaningful and leads to some internal resources of the person. Of course, these humanistic approaches usually have bigger problem to be so-called evidence-based, but it is usually more humanistic and more connected to the individual person. We can work on ourselves, on our emotions, trauma, and ability of co-regulation with the other person. We also run a small school in Veľké Zlievce, and in this school we really have everyday experience that if we accept the children on the spectrum and do not put to them these normative and efficiency-driven tasks, they accommodate and they are successful. I met also even people who are saying that the joyful expression of the child should be oppressed in order for the child to look normal. So, but we should also say that the essence of trauma is the disconnection from the feelings, and the internalized oppression is very deep harm to each person connected to trauma. If we assume that what is usually said, that autism causes misbehavior and is considered to be autism trait, we should also consider if we are asking the correct questions about this. What if it is so that mistreatment causes anxiety and anxiety itself causes misbehavior? So we can say that not autism, but the mistreatment causes some misbehavior. I have two short sentences more to say. One is from my colleague in our school in Veľké Zlievce, which says, as much as the children themselves are in control over what is going on in the classroom, in their activities, the misbehavior decreases. We are partners, we share the power and privilege, and there is no more need to control the others, only myself. And the last is from me. If what I say many times to people or to parents or to teachers, do you have a hard time to join your child in his energy? The life in its essence is dancing in front of you. Will you let it be alone? So thank you for your following me.